It's the middle of the year, which means that everyone with a ring light, crop top, and a motivational quote tattoo is suddenly screaming, "There's still time to make 2025 your best year yet." But here you are, the middle of the year, no music swelling, no plot twist, just bills, back pain, and another "we've decided to go in a different direction" email from a job that pays in exposure and trauma. Why does mid-year always feel like you're being evaluated by the universe for progress? Like if you haven't upsized a business, downsized your bod, and reorganized your spice rack alphabetically, you have somehow failed the celestial vibe check. Now, I keep hoping for that kind of motivation, but for me, hope right now is wearing cheap red lipstick, knockoff perfume, and fishnets from 2003. She's absolutely reckless, and she has really bad intentions. Meanwhile, the internet's out here asking if I've stepped into my purpose. Damn, I haven't even stepped into pants that button since January. Every year shows up like it's about to fix everything. Your life, your purpose, your lower back pain. But somehow the only thing that ever changes is your insurance premium. Maybe it's not the year that has to change. Maybe it's the expectations that we keep dragging into it. We spend so much time trying to make the year matter that we forget that we already do. So let's stop pretending that a new month fixes the existential blender that we've all been tossed into. The calendar flips, but damn, the chaos stays. Let's be real. If your biggest accomplishment so far this year is keeping the houseplants and your resentment alive, you're not behind. You're just in the middle. And it's okay if the only thing that you've transformed is your caffeine addiction. If something's been gnawing on you that no one else seems to name, don't worry. I dragged it out, dusted it off, and I gave it a mic. We're going to get to that part in just a little bit. So yeah, June hits and suddenly the wellness life coach people resurface and they're all holding their iced matcha and their moral superiority, right? The timelines fill up with soft fonts and aggressive optimism. You've got 6 months left. Make it count. Reclaim your narrative. Yeah, Sophie, the only thing that I'm reclaiming right now is my bra from the bathroom doorknob. That'll have to do. What's your word for the next 6 months? What are you shedding? What are you claiming? My word for the next 6 months is no. My word for the first 6 months was expansion, and so far that's just been my waistline and my credit card balance. Sometimes the most radical thing that you can do is to not transform, to not pivot, to not curate your trauma for engagement, which, I mean, yeah, okay, guilty. Been there, done that, got the analytics. Hey, I am still a learning work in process too. Now, I have learned that some seasons are about holding it together just long enough to keep going. They aren't about growth. They're about grit. They're about waking up, muttering "I'm enough" to yourself, and resisting the urge to disappear into a poorly timed haircut or a one-way flight to nowhere. And to be truthful, that's a lot of what my one-on-ones are. They're just mostly convincing people not to vanish into a new zip code with freshly butchered bangs. Sometimes life is about side-eyeing that bitch Hope and wondering if she might stumble back in eventually. Her heels broken, her lashes askew, and her skirts all tucked into her fishnets, smelling like chaos and last chances. And while I'm waiting, I just keep showing up to my own ordinary life. I don't want a breakthrough. I want consistency. I don't need a miracle. I need a little bit of mercy. I am just trying to become the version of me that remembers to move the laundry to the dryer before it smells like a middle school gym locker. I am choosing my sanity over your 8-step morning routine that ends with a juice made from moss and shame. I am choosing not to sign up for one more overpriced webinar that's hosted by a man with a whiteboard kink and mommy issues. In all honesty, I just found a to-do list that I made in February that literally says "become more social." Who is she? I don't know. Where is she now? To be young again. What's the weirdest thing that's been keeping you going lately? A snack? A playlist? A petty revenge fantasy? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what's getting you through this mess. No judgment, I swear. Maybe this isn't your breakout year. Maybe it's just the year that you don't quit on yourself. You tell yourself that you held on for a reason, but what if that reason never shows up? Does that mean that this doesn't count? Okay, so let's just say it out loud. What if nothing magical happens this year? Yeah, what if? What if there's no glow up? What if there's no life-changing phone call from a long-lost dead aunt with a fat will and a beachfront condo? What if you don't go viral? You don't fall in love. Your nemesis doesn't get arrested. You don't get a raise. You don't even get a reply. You just live. Like last Thursday when I was eating shredded cheese out of the bag while sitting on the floor in my robe. I didn't do this because I had a crisis, but because I didn't have the energy anymore to pretend that I wasn't in one. What if this year is quiet because that's what your system needs? What if this year's working on you the way mold works on cheese? Slow, unphotogenic, but still technically a transformation. If the second half of this year unfolds without magic, without achievement, without recognition, without some big neon sign saying you made it, that doesn't mean you failed. Somewhere along the way, we started thinking that every year needed to be redemptive, like the universe is grading us on emotional growth charts, and we're failing if we don't end December in a higher tax bracket, a vitamin routine, a brand strategy, and a healed inner child. This year is not just halfway over, but maybe you're like me and you are too. Maybe you're just halfway out of fucks. Maybe you're just done performing competence for people who wouldn't notice if you fell apart. Maybe you're halfway through pretending that this society still makes sense. Maybe Hope, with her fishnets, big promises, and lipstick on her teeth, ditched you back in March and hasn't returned a single text. This isn't a lack of progress. This is you carrying your own weight while managing all the chaos. You're carrying what no one sees with half the resources and none of the credit. You haven't lost your mind. It's just on sabbatical, texting you weird memes at 2 a.m. Some years are big and loud and life-altering, but some years are a series of losses that you're just too tired to process. And then there are the years that are just maintenance. What if this year doesn't end in a big climax? What if it just ends the way most things do? Quietly, weirdly, with mild regret, a passive-aggressive email from your HOA, a weird smell in your kitchen you can't locate? What if there are no fireworks, no applause, just a bunch of unanswered texts, an unwashed spoon in the sink, and the realization that your grand transformation arc might actually just be existing? That doesn't make it meaningless. There's dignity in repetition. There is value in boredom. There's peace in realizing that nothing has to happen for this year to be worth something. Maybe it's not the year that you come back, but maybe it's the year that you come home to yourself. You didn't rise, you didn't fall, you just remained. So what do you even call that kind of survival? Maybe this year isn't going to slap. The new year lied to you again, my friend. Maybe my life will be a bit unspectacular. Maybe my only win is staying above water when everything around me seems to be trying to pull me under. That still counts. You still count. You made it to June. In this economy, in this political circus, with this healthcare system and this grocery bill and climate anxiety all slowly simmering like an emotional jambalaya, with this job market that swears it's hiring, but ghosts you like a bad Tinder date and still has the nerve to send you a satisfaction survey after you apply. With every damn article insisting that the key to financial freedom is starting a business in your spare time while working 3 gigs and aging out of LinkedIn relevance. You didn't combust, dissolve, or run off naked into the woods, and that's saying something. Or if you did, you patched it together with sarcasm, prescription refills, and your comfort show that you've watched a million times. Mine is The Golden Girls. And if all this year gives you is the strength to be yourself, gently and without spectacle, then it's not a missed opportunity. It's a miracle. Because some years you don't need magic, you just need a little bit of mercy, and this might be the first time that you've ever given it to yourself. And if no one has said it lately, what you're doing is enough. Even if it's not flashy or scalable, even if it's just keeping the peace on your own nervous system, all of that still counts. Now, I've got YouTube memberships, by the way. It's like group therapy, but with memes and zero pressure to be productive. So you're welcome to join us. You don't need to earn your rest. You don't need to package your growth. You don't need to justify why this year didn't take off. You stayed when it would have been easier to disappear. Maybe you didn't build an empire. Maybe you didn't heal your inner child, but you fed people. You answered the call. You kept the lights on. I've said I'm fine a million times with tears and snot drying on my chin. I have smiled through conversations that made me want to key someone's Subaru, and I still showed up the next day. That's not nothing. That's not failure. That's the gospel of showing up. And when things fell apart, you didn't quit. You patched it back together with whatever scraps you had left. That's not failing the year. That is surviving the rewrite. Now, Hope might still be out clubbing and drunk texting other people about their potential, but you stayed. And if no one clapped for you yet, fine. Clap for yourself. Then go eat something salty or something covered in chocolate. Maybe you've been telling yourself that this year still counts, but you haven't believed it yet. You might still be wondering why everything feels so damn heavy. Now, that's the part that no one names. And once you hear it, everything starts to make a lot more sense. So Come make more sense with me here.